the thing I would say is, when you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
To create the legal industry of tomorrow, we need leaders. Leaders ready to embrace changing circumstances and uncover new opportunities.
One of the biggest things that we could do to change the world is not put people in categories as other. And you see that a lot in the criminal justice system. The people who are accused of offenses are the other, but the reality is they're community members. People don't care about what happens in the court system frequently or what happens in jail or prisons until a loved one is directly impacted. And then they wonder why the system works this way. And it works that way because we classify someone as different than us, when the reality is the person who's sitting at the defense table with me as my client is the exact same as the prosecutor, the judge, the jury member. Their life circumstances might be different. They might have had mental health issues or an abusive childhood or substance use addictions, or they might be an innocent person who's been wrongfully accused. But until we view them as community members who have the same rights and values as all of us, the system will never change, no matter how many laws that we rewrite and how many court rules we enact.
At this firm, we try to find meaning in our work, which means we try to select work that is gratifying and gives us meaning. I think that's critical for the profession. It's natural. People want to contribute to something greater than themselves.
So there's a song, "Mamas don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Let them be doctors and lawyers and stuff." So my mom actually brainwashed me with that song. She would play it nonstop, nonstop. I got old enough to figure out what an attorney was, and I saw it as a way for me to help people in situations when they couldn't help themselves.
At the end of the day, what we do is make people's lives better. What we want to do is, when people come to us, to have them leave feeling better than when they walked in the door. And it's a simple thing, but it's a powerful thing.
We are called to this work. This opportunity for greatness, this chance to mold a better future, rise to the challenge. The time is now to find your edge, build your path, and make your mark.
And now, please welcome to the ClioCon stage, legal tech pioneer, best-selling author of the client-centered law firm, founder and CEO of Clio, Jack Newton.
It is so amazing to see this many people in one room. Welcome to the 2022 Clio Cloud Conference. So like a lot of you, I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan. And even 10 years after his death, we can feel the echo of the impact he had on the world. He talked about wanting to create a dent in the universe, and he created a massive dent in the universe. But the opening video we just saw was something I came across relatively recently. I hadn't seen this video of Steve Jobs, even though I've watched probably what I thought was almost every Steve Jobs video that was out there. I hadn't seen this particular video. And I thought his concept of making an impact on the world, making a mark, was such a profound thought that we shaped this entire conference's theme around it. How can we all make our mark on the world? And what resonated with me so deeply in this video was the fact that he really saw the world as something that is changeable, that we don't need to feel trapped by the systems that were designed by people, as Steve Jobs put it, that were no smarter than us. The systems around us are malleable. And if we look at the legal system, to use the way Steve Jobs described it, it's pretty messed up. It needs change, and the change will be driven by the people in this room. And we're in this room because we see that opportunity and we want to make our mark. So thank you for joining us over the next 2 days to have that kind of impact. This idea of having transformation, of having impact, of making our mark is the reason we launched the Clio Cloud Conference back in 2013. And we're thrilled to be celebrating ClioCon's 10th anniversary this year. As a 5-year-old startup in 2013, we really had no business starting a conference. But we did it because we thought there was a huge hole in the legal conference landscape. There were conferences focused on the practice of law, thousands of hours of CLE being consumed in windowless boardrooms in soulless hotels. And I know all of you have spent far too much time in those windowless boardrooms. And there were also conferences on technology, but there were conferences on technology for technology's sake, not looking at technology as a means to an end. And what was missing, in our view, was a conference focused on the unique opportunity that technology presents to transform legal, to increase access to justice, and to make the legal system more accessible to the legal consumer. And that vision was the foundation of ClioCon. Let's gather the world's most forward-thinking lawyers, thought leaders in one place. Technology would be a huge part of the conversation, but the ultimate theme would be about transformation. And the movement started, like all movements do, with a small kernel of early adopters. That first ClioCon, we had just over 200 attendees. Pretty humble beginnings. As you can see, we didn't even have a stage for that first ClioCon. But that didn't matter to any of us. That first conference was incredible. And you told your friends, and they told their friends. And ClioCon started to snowball. Over the last 10 years, ClioCon has grown into one of the biggest conferences in legal, with over 2,000 attendees attending each of the last 4 ClioCons. I'd also humbly submit that ClioCon has become the best conference in legal. Thank you. What's just as incredible as ClioCon's growth is Clio's growth as a company alongside it. Back in 2023, at that first ClioCon, Clio as an entire company was a 70-person team. And we had 23 Cleons on the ground for that first ClioCon. Today, Clio's over 900 people strong, and we have 183 members of Team Clio in the back of the room with us today to help serve you over the next 2 days. And you might recognize a few faces from that very first ClioCon, which is also especially cool to me. We have several employees celebrating their 10-year employment anniversaries at the company as well, which is awesome. So the conference and Clio have grown tenfold over the last decade. And alongside that incredible growth, what's really energizing for me is that we have some of you that have come to every single ClioCon over the last 10 years. Can I hear a scream from a few people that have been here to each one? Yeah, you're out there. That's pretty impressive. Thank you, and welcome back. And while ClioCon has grown and evolved a lot over the years, the central theme of ClioCon has remained constant. This is a gathering where we imagine a better future for the practice of law, where we share our learnings, we focus on ourselves and our practices, and it's where we lock arms and work together to transform the legal experience for all. What's so powerful to me personally is what's formed here as a community at ClioCon. And it's a rare and special thing for this to happen. And I thank all of you for joining us for the next 2 days to drive that transformation. This year's ClioCon is our biggest and best ever. We have broken attendance records from the last in-person ClioCon we had back in 2019, which is just amazing. Thank you all for coming. It's amazing to have all of you in one room, and the energy in here is palpable. We also have 1,000 attendees joining us remotely, including the team out in London. Hello, London. Thank you for joining us at the watch party. And this is our first ever hybrid ClioCon. So this is a total of 3,000 attendees joining us both in person and virtually. The biggest ClioCon ever, which is incredible. Thank you. What's also amazing is people are coming around the world for this conference. ClioCon has truly become an international event. We're welcoming attendees from over 22 countries, including India, Nigeria, the Philippines, and Switzerland today. Welcome to our out-of-country guests. Thank you for coming. Over the course of this keynote and the next 2 days, and a celebration at the Grand Ole Opry tonight, we will be celebrating our 6th annual customer awards, the Reisman Awards. These awards hold a really special place in my heart as they recognize and celebrate the exceptional impact we see across the Clio community. We named these awards in honor of our very first customer at Clio, Catherine Marino Reisman. Yeah, let's hear it for Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, for the courage of putting that credit card in 14 years ago. So take a look around you. When's the last time you've seen this many thought leaders, innovators, early adopters, and advocates in one room? It's been at least 2 or 3 years. This is a truly profound and unique opportunity to drive change, and one we haven't had in over 2 years. I encourage all of you to seize this moment. I also want to acknowledge what a challenge the last 2.5 years have been. But this group has been resilient, and you have risen to the challenges that have been presented to us over the last 2.5 years. Collectively in Clio, since the onset of the pandemic, you have tracked over 77 million hours of legal activity. You have served over 15 million legal clients and handled over 13 million matters. Using Clio Grow, you've collectively handled over 6 million matters. You've taken over 1 million appointments that were booked online through Grow Scheduler. And what's clear is that even in a trying pandemic, you found ways to uncover new opportunities. Opportunities to work in new ways, opportunities to connect with clients in new ways, ways to solve new client problems. The other trait this room shares is a bias for action. You made changes to your firm in terms of how you operated to realize what you want for yourself, your clients, and the broader legal industry. You saw opportunities where others might have only seen problems and challenges. And while these are some incredible statistics, You might be asking, what story does all of this data tell? Well, that story is exactly what we tell in this year's Legal Trends Report. The Legal Trends Report has become the benchmark report since we published it first 6 years ago. It's read by tens of thousands of legal professionals. It's cited by academics in their academic papers. And a number of startups, and this is what's especially cool for me to see, a number of startups in the legal tech space have been founded around the data and insights that are presented in the Legal Trends Report. Today, we are thrilled to release the 7th annual Legal Trends Report, and I'll be sharing some of the key insights from this report in today's keynote. I also encourage you to attend the Legal Trends Report talk by Joshua Lennon and Rio Peterson, presented later this morning. So let's talk about some of the key observations from this year's Legal Trends Report. One key observation is that legal has been booming since the onset of the pandemic. Here we can see that after declines during the first waves of COVID-19, matter creation rates are up 20% relative to the 2019 baseline. The baseline that we're referencing in this data, by the way, is the average matter creation rate in Q4 of 2019, which we viewed as the normal pre-pandemic norm these new data points are benchmarked against. Here we see how billable hours have changed over the course of the last 2.5 years, and we can see a 35% improvement in billable hours. What's also impressive is that we've seen utilization rate and collection rate improve over the same time period, driving billable hours and revenue up 36% and collected revenue up 45%. This is incredible data, and what it reinforces is that you are finding new ways of operating. You're champions of this new way of working, and you are working efficiently even in the face of adversity. But while the industry has persevered through a global pandemic and the Great Lockdown, it's clear that we are a ways away from smooth water. All we need to do is look at the headlines, where every day we're seeing news stories about global conflict, stock markets collapsing, a recession that has either arrived or is imminent, and inflation that is at a 40-year high. Volatility is the new normal. But as depressing as the macro environments might seem right now, I want everyone in this room to do something that might seem really counterintuitive. And that's to look at these headlines as an opportunity. The reason for this is that in every downturn, there are always firms and companies that find a way to thrive. Firms that actually emerge stronger from the downturns than when they entered them. It turns out recessions can be huge opportunities for innovation and to create disruption. And to illustrate this, I'll tell you a little story about Clio's founding story. This was the cover of The Economist the week before Ryan Govro and I launched Clio back in October of 2008. The headlines back then weren't all that dissimilar to the ones we're reading today. And even though it was 14 years ago, I can still remember the visceral fear we felt. What the hell were we thinking founding a company in this kind of environment? But it turns out this was a great time to innovate. It was a great time to disrupt large, entrenched competitors that were spooked by this environment and started acting conservatively. It turned out the great financial crisis was also a massive catalyst for law firms to start rethinking their technology needs and to start moving from on-prem to cloud. Founding Clio in the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression turned out to be perfect timing. And we emerged from it with a huge amount of momentum, and what had been firmly entrenched competition in the legal practice management space emerged from the Depression significantly weakened and on a trajectory of chronic decline. So this opportunity for becoming stronger in a downturn also exists for law firms. We see this in the Legal Trends Report, where we analyzed factors that help separate growing firms from shrinking firms. And what we saw, as you'd expect, is some firms struggled. Their revenues decreased, their headcount shrunk, and some of them even shut down. There was another group, the stable group of law firms, that treaded water. They got through it and found a way to survive. However, there were firms that grew, and firms that grew substantially, firms that got stronger through adversity. And we asked ourselves, what were the differentiating factors that separated the firms that thrived from the firms that shrunk? At a high level, we see firms that fall into two groups. We see one group that clings on to the old way of doing things, to pen and paper, to on-premise technology, to bricks and mortar. And many of these firms were performing just fine. But what they didn't realize was their business model, the way they ran their law firms, was rigid and therefore fragile. And this fragile state could work as long as these law firm environments remained stable. But with the onset of COVID-19, these firms were completely unprepared to handle the changes they needed to make to adapt to a new environment. Their overly rigid and outdated business models shattered when they were exposed to these new stressors. On the flip side, you had firms that rose to these challenges, who embraced new ways of operating thanks to these new stressors. They adapted, and they had a strong foundation of technology to build upon, to rapidly evolve how their law firms operated. They were able to quickly iterate and evolve based on the shifting demands from both their clients and their staff. So this prompts a really interesting question. What can we call something that is the opposite of fragile? These firms that we saw thriving were not just resilient, they were not just getting by, but they were the opposite of fragile. We need a word for things that get better when they're exposed to stressors and challenges. Something that is literally the opposite of fragile. And it turns out Nassim Nicholas Taleb gave us an answer to this question of what we call the opposite of fragile in his 2012 book called Anti-Fragile. And he coined this term anti-fragile to describe exactly what I think we're seeing with individual law firms and at a macro level for the law system, the legal system as a whole. This is how Taleb describes anti-fragility. He says, some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility. Randomness, disorder, stressors, and love, adventure, risk, and uncertainty. Yet, in spite of the ubiquity of this phenomenon, there's no word for the exact opposite of fragile. Let us call it anti-fragile. The resilient resist shocks and stay the same. The anti-fragile get better. And I think this does such a beautiful job of describing the law firms we see succeed in the face of hardship. And doesn't this also seem antithetical to how our legal system has been built? And yet it seems what ties together the lawyers in this community, the ones that are transforming how law is done, is that we do love the adventure, risk, and uncertainty that this landscape presents us. We are not scared to deal with challenges we have not faced before. So let's talk a little bit more about this concept of anti-fragility. And an intuitive example of an anti-fragile system is the human immune system. The immune system becomes stronger when it's exposed to pathogens like bacteria or viruses. Through exposure to these pathogens, we might get sick, We might feel bad for a few days, we might suffer a temporary setback, but ultimately we emerge stronger, with an immune system better prepared for its next encounter with similar pathogens. It's a system that gets stronger by being placed in stressful environments. Now let's think about the concept of anti-fragility as it relates to law firms. Think about the way you respond to adversity, whether it's your response to a global pandemic, an impending recession, a natural disaster that impacts your office, or even a client not showing up or a staff member departure. The way you respond to these stressors can be a source of huge competitive advantage. And I'd like to suggest we embrace this concept of anti-fragility in legal, to think about how we create the anti-fragile law firm. Law firms that thrive and grow when they're exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors. Law firm leaders that love adventure, risk, and uncertainty. This concept of the anti-fragile law firm dovetails nicely with the concepts I describe in my book, The Client-Centered Law Firm. Both ideas emphasize the concept that law firms need to be built in a resilient way to thrive in a rapidly changing environment. The client-centered law firm focuses on shifting client expectations as the main stressor we need to react to. Amazon, Netflix, and Uber have all changed the way clients shop and get around. They now expect a frictionless experience where they can find what they want quickly and easily and get it on demand. The client-centered law firm tells us that if we don't find ways to adapt to these changing client expectations, we risk losing them. The concept of the anti-fragile law firm really shifts around the idea that shifting client expectations are just one of the stressors we're being exposed to. Global instability, an oncoming recession, and regulatory reform are more examples of the many additional stressors law firms will be facing over the next decade. If we think about building anti-fragile law firms, I believe we'll all be better equipped to drive fundamental transformation in the legal industry and to emerge from the stressors these challenge us with stronger than we were before. So I want to unpack this idea of what it means to be an anti-fragile law firm. This all sounds great, hopefully, but how do you put it into action? And the way we think about it is there are three fundamental pillars in the approach to building an anti-fragile law firm. The first is connection. Building strong connections with your clients, your firm members, and your long-term mission, which is all fundamental to thriving in the long term. The next is creativity. Creativity is essential to innovation, and innovation is foundational to anti-fragility. And lastly, you need technology. You need a technical foundation to your firm that is adaptable and flexible in order for you to be truly anti-fragile. Being a great lawyer in today's environment is not enough to guarantee a thriving practice in today's environment. Being a great lawyer is a necessary but not sufficient condition to building a thriving law firm. The key to being a successful lawyer is making sure all three of these concepts, connection, creativity, and technology, work together in harmony within your organization so that your firm can grow without being held back by any one aspect of its operation. This is the framework for an anti-fragile law firm. So let's take a deep dive into each one of these concepts. Connections are essential to charting a path forward, essential to building a winning, anti-fragile law firm and team. I'll talk about what we mean by connection at a few different levels. First, there's our social bonds with family, friends, and colleagues. Finding ways to build and reinforce these bonds is essential for any individual to be able to develop to their full potential. But these bonds also exist between lawyers and clients. Chartier and Nyamfukuza, that you saw in our opening video, yes, let's hear it. They're the winner of our 2022 Reisman Award for Legal Impact. And they're a great example of how to create meaningful connections with clients and have a positive impact on your firm by virtue of having these positive connections. Mary Chartier is a firm believer in criminal justice reformation, having seen firsthand the impact of the inequities of the current system and the unfair outcomes for those who don't have real advocates standing up for them. Mary sees it as her responsibility to defend those who are labeled as indefensible and rid people of the stigma of being a felon or having a conviction. This requires an incredible amount of trust and understanding with individuals who may have an immense distrust for those in legal. This is no small feat, but their commitment to developing these connections saw them exonerate 3 individuals in the last year alone. Let's hear it from Mary and her team. So that's the power of connection. Unlocking meaningful connections increases your ability to influence your surroundings. But in an incredibly fragmented and fragile environment, meaningful connections with others can be challenging to build. The importance of connection is why we've asked Priya Parker, author of The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters, to join us as one of our keynote speakers this year. Priya will help us get intentional about how we collaborate to create more meaningful connections. In her keynote, she will guide us through a live demonstration to share tangible tips on how to host better meetings, connect individuals, and break down the anatomy of what actually makes for transformative gatherings. And while connecting with others is critical, connecting to a greater purpose is how you unlock the next level of potential in your teams. This is something I've experienced personally at Clio. Our mission to transform the legal experience for all is big, aspirational, and hugely energizing to our team. Great companies need to identify something bigger than themselves, something bigger than KPIs or revenue metrics, to give purpose and meaning to their work. Purpose gives coherence to an organization. And by creating clarity in your greater purpose and ensuring your firm is aligned to that, you can have a greater sense of direction in times of uncertainty. Rudder Law, winner of the Best New Law Firm Reisman Award, is an example of what is achievable when you connect to a greater purpose. Andrew Rudder became a lawyer with the goal of increasing diverse representation in the industry and started his own firm for the freedom to practice law on his own terms. Within just a year and a half of opening his own catastrophic impairment law firm, Andrew obtained a catastrophic impairment designation that increased policy limits from $65,000 to $1 million and helped change an Ontario law that potentially discriminated against individuals based on their geographic location. Andrew's story is a testament to the fact that you can change the world around you. A mission that resonates with you and your team will set you up for success. And let's hear a big round of applause for Andrew for winning this Legal Reisman Award. Part of building a successful law firm is retaining top talent. And what we've seen in this year's Legal Trends Report data is the Great Resignation has arrived in legal. 19% of lawyers left a job in the last 12 months, and 9% of lawyers were planning on leaving their job in the next 6 months. And what's incredible, more than this shocking data underscoring the risk that the Great Resignation presents to law firms, is the fact that lawyers are leaving law firms for reasons that are very different from why they've left in the past. It used to be if you wanted to hire top talent at a law firm, you just had to pay top dollar, and that talent would come to you. And what has shifted dramatically in the 2022 Legal Trends Report is that law firm culture matters more than it ever has before in attracting and retaining top talent. And I know everyone in this room recognizes that. For the first time ever, we're seeing work-life balance be a strong driver of movement across law firms. And when you look at the top 6 reasons people are leaving law firms, work-life balance, disliking the company, their manager, their type of work, or their colleagues, these dominate pay as reasons that people will move from one law firm to another. So as we enter this era when we are in a war for talent in the most extreme hiring market and most extreme legal demand market we've seen in the history of the profession, we need to focus on how we build cultures that differentiate and compete effectively. This is a rallying cry to create work environments that support lawyers' well-being. And by the way, something that's really important when we talk about work-life balance, what we hear back from professionals when we pull at that thread is they are not saying they want to work less. They want to work on their own terms. They want flexibility. By giving legal professionals the flexibility to make their own schedules, you can differentiate your law firm significantly and help retain talent and help attract top talent. And while it seems like lawyers thrive within a traditional workday, flexibility can't fall to the wayside. In fact, 76% of lawyers want to choose which hours they work. But this isn't going to work the same for everyone. It's about asking questions to discover what matters to your clients and what matters to you and your colleagues. As a law firm, you have the ability to shape the future. And it starts by asking what if instead of what is, just like Rudder Law did. In order to do so, you need to think creatively. The legal industry is changing, and it's up to us to keep it moving forward. We've got to keep innovating, thinking outside of the box, and that requires creativity. I think back to our opening video of Steve Jobs when we think about creativity, that we can change the world around us. But the legal training system really stamps out creativity in all of us. In a world of precedents, regulations, and tradition, sometimes we wonder what room is left for creativity. But really what is so key is that you reject the status quo and realize there is the opportunity for change, there is the opportunity to make your mark and to take risks. And 402 Legal is the winner of our 2022 Reisman Award for Diversity and Inclusion. And they're a prime example of a firm that has rejected the status quo and is thinking creatively about how they solve systemic issues within the legal industry and beyond. Originally from Togo, Karine Sokpo has been an advocate for Nebraska's immigrant, refugee, and Black communities since she founded 402 Legal in 2011. She works tirelessly to guarantee equal opportunities for those in her community. As a member of the Volunteer Lawyers Project, Karine leads by example, representing hundreds of individuals in juvenile court and in immigration proceedings at reduced rates. She also founded and acts as the current president of the Midlands African Chamber, Inc., the only Black chamber of commerce in the state of Nebraska. On top of all of this, Karine created the Pitch Black competition to provide opportunities for funding, mentoring, and connecting to diverse entrepreneurs. Karine has tapped into a latent legal market while empowering, connecting, and championing diverse businesses and making justice more accessible to all. Karine isn't focusing on the status quo or what is, she's focusing on what can be. Karine is creating opportunities for those whose voices haven't been heard to have their say. Many of those voices will go on to have their own transformative impact on their communities. Let's give a big hand of applause to 402 Legal, please. Lastly, let's talk about technology. As everyone in this room knows, the rise of cloud-based technology is a game changer for law firms. It's changed what we're capable of, the ways we engage with one another, and the way we feel about our personal lives. And what's really interesting about this year's Legal Trends Report is that we can quantify that impact. So let me say first that technology is foundational to the anti-fragile law firm. It is very difficult to be anti-fragile without a very strong technology foundation. When comparing how lawyers using legal technology rate their relationships with clients, we found 3 things that stood out in this year's Legal Trends Report. First, those using cloud-based LPM software to manage their practice were 60% more likely to have a positive relationship with their clients. Second, those firms were 44% more likely to have positive relationships with their colleagues. And finally, they were 15% more likely to be satisfied with their professional lives overall. So these are real quality of life impacts on the relationships you have with your peers, relationships you have with clients, and your overall satisfaction with your work life just by having the right technology powering you. Additionally, law firms centralizing their efforts on a legal practice management system are also reporting higher client satisfaction, higher employee performance, and higher revenue performance than those that are not using it. Legal practice management software, as everyone in this room already realizes, is a huge win for your bottom line and your top line, along with your employees and you as an employer. Your staff are happier, healthier, and more productive when they feel supported and have the right tools to do their job. And when employees are happy, they're more likely to stay at your company for longer periods of time. And this is an important source of competitive advantage in today's marketplace. The cloud enables you to be operationally excellent and resilient in the face of adversity. A great example of how law firms are leveraging technology to change the future of legal is Koenig Dunn, winner of the 2022 Reisman Award for Legal Innovation. Koenig Dunn isn't just focused on their own success. They're focused on making sure that everyone can access justice. As Nebraska's largest law firm, they saw firsthand how important it was to support their clients as they navigate the legal process. People trying to get divorced are frustrated, overwhelmed, they don't understand the process, and they're also going through one of the most difficult periods of their lives. The firm formed a committee of team members who met with legal aid and the Nebraska Volunteer Lawyer Project to identify and uncover access to justice gaps. They found that outside of affordability, the state's geography presented a real challenge in accessing legal services. 12 of 93 counties in Nebraska didn't have any lawyers at all. And 5 of those counties were the poorest counties in the state. That's why the firm launched Untie Online, the first and only limited scope divorce service in Nebraska. So people could access their services all across the country, all across the state, including the 12 counties that had no legal representation. By leveraging technology, Koenig Dunn had reimagined what divorce support can look like. And that's why we're honored to recognize them as our 2022 Legal Innovation Reisman Award winner this year. Please give a big round of applause to Koenig Dunn. So, anti-fragile law firms are a testament to the power of creating meaningful connections, creatively solving deep-rooted problems, and leveraging technology to build a better tomorrow. But when these foundations intersect, we see the real magic of anti-fragile law firms. These firms are agile, flexible, and innovative. When you think about the future of law firms, what do you see? We see firms that are set up to respond to changing needs and are not disrupted in the process. The ability to be agile is immensely felt in the back office of law firms. You've got an ever-growing list of tasks that need to be completed and an ever-shrinking amount of time to get them done. You need to be able to move quickly. So what's the solution? It's not about doing more. It's about adapting solutions, systems, and processes that allow you to get more done with what you already have. The Daswani Law Group is our Excellence in Client Service Reisman Award winner. And they're innovative, resilient, and always striving to do better for their clients. They're using their LPM to give their clients more options, and they approach business in a way that is unique and inspiring. Geeta Daswani came from a family business owners who had legal challenges and formed the Daswani Law Group to help other small business owners avoid some of the struggles her family went through. The firm's focus on flexible payment plans helps to provide small business clients with access to her essential legal expertise while alleviating the financial burden that often comes along with legal services. This in turn has created new paths forward for businesses that may not have gotten off the ground otherwise, but also ensuring the Daswani Law Group is resilient. Their efforts have not gone unnoticed. Just look at these rave reviews from their clients. Daswani Law Group has helped their clients overcome the financial burden of legal services while simultaneously creating stability in their bottom line. Please give a round of applause to the Daswani Law Group. Businesses need to be able to respond quickly and adapt to change, but they also need to be flexible so they can survive when things don't go according to plan. By embracing a change mindset, you safeguard your firm against the uncontrollable. What happens if a client pulls out or an employee leaves? If your practice areas or service offerings are too concentrated, then you have a higher risk of a single point of failure. You need to be able to distribute these failure risks across multiple touch points. And your goal should ultimately be to reduce any single point of failure. The Torrey Pines Law Group is the winner of the 2022 award for Best Growth Story. And it's a great example of a firm predicting what could come while maintaining flexibility and eliminating single points of failure during a period of extreme change. When Kevin Buckley founded the firm, it started out as just a patent shop. Then February of 2020 hit, and their clients needed a wide range of new services. They needed help to get therapeutics, diagnostics, medical devices over to the FDA for approval to combat this new pandemic called COVID-19. In response, the Torrey Pines Law Group made a massive change to their business and strategy. They grew the practice to include biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and even artificial intelligence. In doing so, they were able to comprehensively address the needs of a single but very specific market. They were able to offer unique value and distribute the points of failure for their clients and their firm. In the process, they've grown over 5-fold in the last 2.5 years and now have offices in San Diego and throughout Southern California. This has enabled them to serve even more clients and to continue to thrive. We're proud to recognize Torrey Pines Law Group as our Best Growth Story Reisman Award winner. Please give them a big round of applause. And finally, we need to be able to find ways to break out of habitual ways of thinking that would otherwise hinder growth and profitability and our ability to make a difference. Innovation is the intersection of creativity and technology, and it's all about embracing creativity and all that goes along with it, including occasionally failing. Innovation is really about weighing, balancing, and identifying what risks you're comfortable taking on. It's the lever that will help your business become profitable and help it differentiate it in an increasingly competitive marketplace. But innovation doesn't occur in a vacuum. You need to create buy-in from others. And this is where the power of influence comes in. And by the way, this is what made Steve Jobs such a powerful leader. Influence is about the ability to persuade others that something is possible, that your idea can change the world. And without influence, you will not be able to advance your ideas. Innovation and creativity involves rocking the boat. The norm is not good enough. So what else is possible? How do we get buy-in? How do we make it a reality? There are 2 skills you need to be able to make that happen. Number 1, you need to be able to efficiently and effectively articulate your idea. You need to be able to make a strong argument. And secondly, you need to be able to persuade people to agree with you. You need to change people's minds, which we all know is an immensely difficult thing to do. So to help you structure arguments, we've invited an award-winning argument maker, Neil Katyal. He's the former acting United States Solicitor General. Yeah, let's hear it for Neil. Very excited to have him on stage. Neil has argued over 46 cases before the Supreme Court, which is a record in the US for a minority attorney. And he is skilled at communicating necessary change effectively and having a profound impact, not just in the immediate moment, but in the long term. In his keynote, he will provide insights on how to communicate effectively and structure persuasive arguments based on his extensive and unique experiences at the Supreme Court. Now, there's another dimension to persuasion that is equally important to structuring a great argument, and that's understanding the psychology of influence. And to do that, we've invited noted psychologist, academic, and New York best-selling author Robert Cialdini to join us as our keynote speaker at ClioCon. He will speak to us about the 7 key principles of influence. And yes, Robert is worth a big round of applause for anyone that's looking forward to seeing him as much as I am. Cialdini will talk to us about the power of being light. He'll explain how we can build up and harness our own social currency by being kind to others and building trust through positive interactions and behaviors. You'll also get a chance to hear from lawyers just like you who are influencing their communities for the better. Individuals like James Creedon, founder of Creedon Law and recipient of our Community Champion Reisman Award. Before becoming a lawyer, James was an environmental activist, a New York paramedic who survived 9/11, and an officer in the United States Army. His life experiences shaped who he's become and how he wants to serve his community as a lawyer. In late 2021, the Frisco, Texas-based firm launched its One Future initiative, donating 5% of its revenue and 5% of its time to the community. They also created the Creedon Foundation to help children pursue their passions, and they support conscious capitalism as well as environmental and climate change initiatives. As a result, Creedon Law has become the first B Corp certified law firm in Texas and is a prime example of how to think globally and act locally. Let's give a big round of applause to Creedon Law. So to round out the keynote, let's talk about what I know a lot of people in this room are excited about, which is our product and some of the amazing innovations we've delivered over the last few months and are announcing today. The product, Clio, is powering all of the amazing Reisman stories we just talked about. It's powering all the great work being done in this room and powering the anti-fragile law firm of the future. We've had an incredible year of innovation at Clio and have some amazing new capabilities I'm looking forward to walking through with you today. So we've talked about some steps you can take to become anti-fragile, and we'll be continuing this conversation over the course of the conference. But as a Clio customer, one thing I want you to know is that we are always thinking about what the future holds and what kind of capabilities we can be building into the product to help you not just survive, but thrive in the kind of environment that we're about to enter. We're always thinking about the future and thinking about how we can help you build a better firm. This year, we've focused our core investments in product in two pivotal areas: enhancing the client journey and building law firm productivity. Let's talk first about how we're enhancing the client journey. At Clio, we envision a client's relationship with your firm as a journey that can be streamlined and elevated at every interaction point. Let's talk about some ways we've reimagined and elevated the client journey. The client journey starts at the awareness stage, and many prospects start their legal journey with a Google search. But despite Google searches being the dominant source of legal demand, too many lawyers don't have a website, or if they have a website, it's little more than an online billboard with a phone number. And this is not what the modern consumer is looking for. We know that consumer expectations have changed and they expect more. And that's why we are thrilled to launch Clio Grow websites. With Clio Grow, you can now build a professional single-page website to put your best foot forward when prospective clients are investigating your firm. Think of this feature as your link in bio that you can put in your LinkedIn or your Twitter or your Instagram feed that provides a quick way for clients to find out high-level information about your firm and why they should hire you. Importantly, this also minimizes the friction that clients need to experience to start to interact with you and give you their business. Depending on the size and needs of your firm, this can also serve as your about page in addition to your main website for seamless social discovery and a more personal page just for you. It can also serve as your firm's main website if that's what you want it to be. At the root of it, with Clio Grow, you can provide visitors with an engaging experience that helps them understand what makes you different from other firms and why they should choose you over them. Our new website builder is completely self-serve. You can create this one-page website from within Clio Grow in less than 10 minutes. You can go from not having a website to having one of the most sophisticated legal websites on the planet in less than 10 minutes. You do not need a web developer. You do not need any kind of external help to get up and going. You can just use one of our pre-built templates and have a beautiful, effective, and highly effective website in just a few minutes. It leverages all the data you already store in Clio to make this process as seamless as possible, and all you need to do is hit publish. And making changes, if you need to in the future, is very simple and very easy to do. Grow Websites also connects to the rest of your Clio products, making it easy for clients to book an appointment with you using Clio Grow Scheduler, to provide you case details using Grow Intake, to pay for their consultation using Clio Payments, and to connect to Clio for clients for ongoing communication throughout their case. What's especially incredible about Clio Grow websites is that in 10 minutes, you will have a website that is more sophisticated and more powerful than what big firms spend $100,000 plus in developing in custom website design. All in 10 minutes or less, all included in your Clio Grow subscription. This is the easy, immediate, and client-centered experience consumers expect. Effortless experiences that are augmented by technology. And it doesn't just stop at the research stage. Let's also talk about initial consultation, where many of you will be asking for initial payment or retainer. Clio Payments users can now request, collect, and securely store payment methods for future use at consultation or retainer. No invoice or conversation required in the future. By storing payment methods, you remove all friction in accepting future payments from customers that does not involve you asking them for their credit card again. As Vernon Brownlee articulates here, time is of the essence when clients are seeking legal services. From more flexibility in appointment reminders to enhanced dedupe and conflict checking sophistication, this year's enhancements to Clio Grow were rooted in automation to help ensure prospective clients never fall through the cracks. To make you even more flexible and agile through the consultation and decision-making process, we've also made it easier to navigate Grow to keep track of your prospective clients through the addition of a variety of pipeline filters, search bar and sorting enhancements, and more. As we continue to expand Grow functionality in the future, our goal will be to continue to make the product more automated and a more effective member of your marketing and client onboarding team. You can expect our upcoming roadmap to deliver on a ton of amazing features on this front. To help you give time back and keep you focused on servicing your clients, we've also expedited the matter creation process within Clio Manage. With millions of matters being managed within Clio Manage every year, this adds up to significant time and cost savings. So let's look next about the decision phase of a case. In a lot of cases, this boils down to trust. An increasingly important factor in building client-attorney trust is the way you communicate. Clients are looking for signals that you will be easy to work with and flexible enough to meet them where they're at. That's just one of the reasons we're excited about the addition of text messaging to Clio Manage. With this functionality, you can use Clio's desktop or mobile apps to text updates, answers, and requests to your clients without giving out your personal number. Text reminders for important events can be automated according to your preferences. Your clients can conveniently text you back images, videos, and GIFs. All these interactions are securely stored in Clio's online portal, and your firm members can look up all of these interactions and all these communications from within Clio Manage. This is something I am so excited about. Last year, we announced a new client-facing app, Clio for Clients. And if you are not using this app, you need to be. It was built to provide your clients a complete and seamless view of what's going on with their case, including documents, communications, required actions, and the ability to pay bills. Since launch, this has become an incredibly popular app with over 1,000 reviews, averaging 4.9 out of 5 in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And the thing I want to emphasize is these are 1,000 reviews coming from your clients that are seeing this app as a major value add to their interactions with your law firm. Clio for Clients is a great way to differentiate your firm by offering a seamless and client-centered experience. But that experience needs to continue through to the billing stage, which is where we often see things break down. This year, we became obsessed with helping you get paid. And this is the most common friction point for law firms and clients. And we wanted to do some foundational research to understand why bills were not getting paid, and then to translate those learnings into changes to our product that will help you increase your collection rate. Through a series of experiments, client research, and feedback, we've been working to uncover what is at the heart of these barriers in understanding why clients don't pay. So here are the answers to that question. Why don't clients pay? There are really 3 reasons. Either a missed communication, a disconnect or a misunderstanding, or lack of funds. And we have solutions to all 3. Let's start with missed communications. The problem is everyone's inbox looks like this. So when you send an invoice to your client, it's just piling into this and getting missed. This is not your clients deliberately ignoring you. We are just all completely overwhelmed. And it's really easy for your invoice, even if you delivered amazing services to your clients, to go missed. So we're here to help solve that specific problem today. One key observation is that while people's inboxes are crowded, most people don't miss your text messages. 98% of text messages are read. And I think the corollary is 98% of emails are ignored. If you're going to send one message, it should be a text message. This is an extremely powerful way to get your client's attention and to eliminate friction around billing. So what we've done is we've embedded billing and payment into Clio for Clients to make it completely frictionless, not only for your clients to get notified that a payment is due, but for them to follow through and in a matter of seconds make the payment on that bill. Billing and payments is available in Clio for Clients, and your clients will receive a push notification as soon as a bill is sent to them. And they can pay at their convenience, hopefully as soon as they get that push notification, via credit card, debit, or e-check using Clio payments. Your invoices and trust requests are also sent and stored in the app to create an easy record for both you and your clients to reference. And while some clients might refer this, we also recognize some may not be using Clio for Clients. You need to be flexible and agile in how your clients pay you. You can now also use QR codes to easily send your clients to the appropriate payment page for their matter, or do ad hoc payments for your matters while they're in the office. Another key learning for us is you need to move away from generic messaging when you're emailing your clients. It's time to ditch generic bill notifications that are asking to be ignored. Now with Clio, you can personalize your bill messages addressing specific client and case-specific details in your email subject line and bill description. So there's no chance they mistake your email for spam. You can also add multiple recipients to the same communication thread to make sure there's no confusion about who's received the invoice. You can also preview bills in a new modal to make sure they're correct before you send them. The second barrier for bill payment is a disconnect or misunderstanding. Legal fees can be difficult to understand, and people often don't understand why your bill is structured the way it is, why they're required to pay, and they may not even understand what specific legal services you deliver to them. But again, communication is key. We can make small changes to how we're presenting these bills and make the process of clients asking questions about these bills more dynamic, more interactive, and have them easily dissuade any concerns or questions they have about the bill. Setting expectations with your clients starts up front, but it's necessary through the entire journey to avoid a disconnect at the payment stage. Clear and thorough communication is critical, and this doesn't change when a disagreement occurs. Preempting disputes is all about presenting information clearly in a centralized location that's easily accessible. And again, Clio for Clients makes it easy for your clients to access their bills and to communicate securely with you if they need help or have questions about this bill. The last aspect of disagreements that I want to talk about is potential chargebacks when a client refuses a credit card charge for the legal services you deliver to them. These are often because of a misunderstanding or confusion about the bill. And while these chargebacks are rare, I want to emphasize that we're investing in white glove service to help you respond to every single chargeback that you may experience with a client when you're using Clio payments. Our support team will be alerted of any of these disputes and reach out to you to help you present the appropriate evidence to the credit card processing companies so that you can win the chargeback request. Now, the last barrier between you and getting paid might be the most obvious, but it's that clients just don't have the funds to pay you. This holdup means that you leave money on the table and you often don't know what kind of recourse you have or how you can help your client pay your bill. It's also the source of a massive source of access to justice, the access to justice gap, where clients that do not have the resources to pay are not able to access legal services. So to solve for this, you need to have an upfront conversation with your clients about your services, and you need to look at ways you can leverage features like Clio's payments payment plans to make paying for those services more accessible. The reality could apply to more of your clients than you think. In 2021, we found that 81% of consumers prefer to pay legal bills via a payment plan. Payment plans make legal services more affordable to clients that could not afford them otherwise. Here's an indication of how popular this feature has been with our customers as well. We've seen over $200 million of legal services delivered through scheduled payment plans in Clio. This is unlocking $200 million of revenue that may not have otherwise been accessible to either law firms or clients if we weren't able to offer this kind of flexible billing. So these are just some of the ways we're breaking down barriers to payment that affects the experience of working with your law firm and impacts access to justice overall. With inflation and increasingly grim forecasts of a recession on the horizon, more and more law firms are going to have to find ways to support clients in being able to pay for legal services in more flexible ways. We're also excited to announce that Clio Payments is coming to Canada. We've seen huge response and I hear a Canadian in the crowd there. We've seen huge success with Clio Payments in the United States since we launched it just over a year ago, and we're really excited to start taking Clio Payments internationally, first to Canada, and eventually to all the geographies Clio serves. Now let's talk about reviews and referrals. In 2019, we uncovered that almost 60% of people seek a referral when looking for a lawyer. This year, we explored what the most influential factors were in hiring a lawyer and found data that reinforced this 2019 finding. Client reviews are far and away the most significant factor in a client's decision-making process. And we all need to think about how we drive more positive reviews to our Google My Business profile. In order to grow, you need better resources and processes, and this is ultimately driving something that is the law firm flywheel of growth. By driving great client experiences, you drive great client reviews, which in turn drives your online profile, which in turn drives more clients, which drives more reviews. And if you can get this flywheel going, it is immensely powerful. And we want to do everything in our power to make that law firm flywheel something that naturally happens for every law firm that uses Clio. I also want to emphasize that we've talked about a lot in this opening keynote, and you're not doing this alone. You've got an entire team of 900 plus members of Team Clio that are looking to support you in this journey. Clio is more than just software. We offer 25/5 support that's available in-app, by phone, and by email, and is delivered by an incredible team of customer success professionals. Whether it's a new idea you have for the product, or if you just need some advice or help, we're always here for you. Last year, we had over 143,000 interactions with you, our customers, with an average response time of just 1 minute and 32 seconds. We pride ourselves, thank you, we've got an amazing support team, and we pride ourselves on always just being a phone call away. But we also know that there are different times you want to be accessing online resources and find answers to your questions yourself. We're really excited today to be launching an entirely new support portal that allows you to access Clio's help systems in a new, effortless way. There's new, short, powerful videos that you can access to help you navigate Clio and get the most out of the product. So I want to next talk about enhancing productivity. Enhancing productivity is essential. One of the data points we saw in this year's Legal Trends report is that while the billable rate for lawyers has been steadily increasing over time, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is starting to outstrip the increase in hourly rates for lawyers. We need to make it really easy for you to become more productive. Otherwise, that inflationary impact is going to start chewing away at your bottom line. With Clio Payments, you can now opt in to 2 different methods for how transaction fees are collected. You can either do that in real time with every transaction, so you always have an accurate view of how much money is in your bank account, or you can choose to do it monthly. And we're the only payments platform in the world that offers the flexibility in choosing how your transaction fees are withdrawn. We're also thrilled to announce we've added integrated 3-way reconciliation to Clio. With integrated 3-way reconciliation, we've made the process of making sure your trust accounting is accurate and correct easier than it's ever been. We've also enhanced our reports to make it easier to analyze what's going on in your law firm and better measure what is so important to effectively managing your law firm. The revenue report in Manage now provides a view of discounted time and expenses, so you can readily see your revenue reduction and work to improve both your realization rate and collection rate. I'm also excited to announce that we have started work and are releasing the first bits of a massive overhaul in the granularity and permissions in Clio. We will make it, yes, I'm glad to hear the excitement about this feature. We know it's critical to be able to manage permissions at a granular level, and you will see this being realized in Clio over the coming year. As the first important step in this project, we now allow you to limit access to key case details, such as the hours worked on a case by one of your attorneys, and soon you'll be able to restrict access to contacts and Manage, and have more flexibility in assigning matters to your team. Cybersecurity is more important than it's ever been. Your clients put trust in you, and you put your trust in us, and we take that duty extremely seriously. Cyber attacks are on the rise. A study by the Thought Lab Group found that cyber attacks had increased 15% in 2021, and those numbers were continuing to increase in 2022. The number of data breaches also increased by 19% in 2022. To ensure that your data remains safe no matter the threat, we've continued to deepen our investment in setting the bar for what security best practices look like in the legal space. Building security at Clio spans 4 areas of investment: best-in-class people, stringent processes, established certifications, and secure practices. When you place your trust in Clio, you can know that you have a dedicated team of 17 security professionals in-house making sure your data is secure. This team of 17 people purely focused on security is larger than some of our competitors' entire engineering teams. Clio Security also has an extensive behavioral detection system that can help us identify if your systems have been compromised before you realize that yourself. And we've been able to, in multiple instances, reach out to customers and ensure that they're able to secure their systems when we detect anomalous behavior. We also recently became SOC 2 compliant and have announced HIPAA compliance, where we're able to, thank you, yeah, let's hear it for HIPAA. We've achieved HIPAA compliance, where if you are in HIPAA scope, we can enter into a business associate agreement to ensure that you are using Clio in a HIPAA compliant fashion. We also continue to invest in our zero trust security model, where we use multi-factor authentication to provide an additional layer of protection to all of our customers. And if you're not currently using 2-factor authentication, I strongly encourage you to enable it, because it does add an incredible amount of protection to your Clio account. Taking the friction out of security is one of our North Stars. Aside from a highly secure platform, we've also been investing in reliability and uptime. We have a guarantee of 99.9% uptime, and over the course of the last year, we've actually celebrated 99.995% uptime, with 100% uptime over the last 3 months. Now, to conclude the keynote, I want to talk about one more thing to continue to echo Steve Jobs, and that is some incredible enhancements to our app ecosystem. Clio today is the only true platform in legal, with over 200 integration partners that have been building on our platform since we first launched our open API in 2014. What we keep hearing from our customers, though, is that you live in Clio. Clio is the first app you open in the morning and the last app you close at night. And we've heard from you that you want to do everything related to your practice from within Clio. And we've got some exciting integrations and enhancements to announce that make that a reality. We're starting with 3 strategic partners, Fidu, Legal Boards, and Proof, with a brand new way of creating integrated apps in Clio for our integration partners. You will no longer need to switch between tabs when you're using these integrations with Clio. You can now leverage their workflows directly in the Clio matters you're already working in every day. Let me walk you through what this functionality looks like for each of these partners. Fidu's integration with Clio allows legal teams to streamline the delivery of subscription legal services. The integration manages, tracks, and visualizes project data while also providing a consolidated view of communication and resources associated from within a Clio matter, all from within Clio. Legal Board's new integration gives you a visual overview of cases and matter progress with a Kanban board. Within a Clio matter, you can know easily what's being done, what delays may be occurring, and what tasks are up next. And Proof's new integration allows you to quickly create serve requests, serve summons and subpoenas to contacts, and track everything in real time, all from within a Clio matter. Yes, very cool. We've also launched a new Clio app certification program. Clio certified apps are apps that meet the highest bar of quality and performance. This designation means the app has extreme capabilities in terms of user experience, security, uptime, compatibility support, and customer value. Ruby Receptionist is an example of one of the Clio certified apps. And with this Clio certified app, you can also know that single sign-on with Clio will help minimize the friction of going from Clio into one of these new apps. So to close things out, the future of law is now. It's time to think about the opportunity for building an anti-fragile law firm. And I know we talked about a lot of concepts in today's opening keynote. If you're interested in digging in more, you can check out the ebook that we're publishing this morning alongside the keynote on the building blocks of an anti-fragile law firm. I look forward to designing a better legal future together with all of you and watching how each of you make your own unique mark. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the next 2 days. This has been a huge pleasure. Thank you.